In order to have a character that can walk around like this and jump and stuff, you'll have to be able to make an animation blueprint. And from there, eventually you'll be able to add things like attacking animations and things like this hanging and jumping animation of the ledge, all that kind of stuff, which we'll do in future videos. Today, we're going over the basics of the animation blueprint system and the state machines. We're going to start in an entirely empty project. I'm using the third-person game template that Epic Games provides you with Unreal Engine. You can make your own or follow along. Down below in the description you'll also find a link to my Patreon where you can download the finished project. There's not much going on today, but if you want to just compare your project to my project to see where things might be going wrong, that is a possibility. So first things first, I'm going to make a separate folder for the player character assets so that we can organize that fairly easily. And then I'm going to just drag in my player character FBX, which is a 3D model file. I'm going to import the skeletal mesh, and I'm also going to be importing the animations. Simply import all, and we've got everything imported here. There's a lot of animations that we're not going to be using right now, today. In future videos, I might end up using them. If you download the project file, it's going to include these assets as well, including the animations that we're not actually going to be using. Well, we have a character imported now. So if we go into the third person blueprint here, we can go into the mesh, which is the skeletal mesh, and then we can change out the skeletal mesh assets. And if we look through here, we'll see our player assets as an option. If we go into the viewport, we'll be able to see that number one, this thing is way too big. So let's scale it down a bit until it fits in the capsule component. But now when we walk around, we have this thing just in the T-pose because it doesn't know what animations to play and when to play those animations. So that's where the animation blueprint comes in. If you look here, we can see in the animation tab, we have the animation mode. We can either use a custom mode, which we're not going to get into right now, a animation asset. So if you've got a character or a pawn that only needs to have one animation playing at all times, this will do. But we have something a little bit more dynamic because we're making a player character. So we're going to be using a animation blueprint, which allows you to put in a animation class in here, which we'll be doing in a moment because we need to make that one first. So pressing Ctrl and space will pop up this folder structure over here, and we're going to go back into my character assets, and we're going to go over to the skeleton here, which is called player skeleton. I'll right click and I can create a anim blueprint. We can just keep the name as it is or call it whatever you want. Then when we double click that, we open up our animation blueprint. So here we can start putting in all the animations that we want to put in. So for instance, if we just put in the idle animation and hook it up into the output pose, we'll see that our character is now doing his idle animation. We'll also immediately see that there's something wrong here because it's not looping. We can come over here into the right hand side and enable loop animation. Now when we compile the blueprint again, you'll see that the animation now properly loops. But right now it's only playing this one animation, and if I put in the jumping animation, for instance, right, and hook that up into there, it'll only play the jumping animation. So how do I make something that dynamically changes what animation plays? Well, you can make a whole blueprint system for that, but there's actually something pre-made in here for you, and that's called a state machine. So if we add a state machine, we can then connect that up to our output pose, and if we double click the state machine, we end up with a new window. Right clicking here, we can add comments, conduits, states, or a state alias. For now, we're going to just simply go through a couple of states. So we can add a new state, and we'll call this idle and walking, and we'll hook up the entry point to this newly made state. So whenever the state machine runs, the first thing it does is go into this state. So this will be the default state that our character is in, which is an idle and walking state. From here we can add more states if we want to. So we can add a state for our jumping, and let's move that up here. Hovering over the outside borders of a state lets you drag around an arrow to connect it to another state. So now our default state is idle/walking, but we can also, from this state, go to our jumping state. We also want to add one more state, which is a falling. And this is a state that we want to enable from either our jumping state, because after we're done jumping, we're going to go into our falling animation. But if we fall off the edge of something without ever having jumped in the first place, we want to skip the jumping. So we also want to be able to go immediately from idle walk to falling. Then, do we ever need to go from jumping to idle/walking? There is a possibility of that, but most likely not. So let's just keep that the way it is. However, if we are falling, when we stop falling, so when we hit the ground, we want to go back to our idle and walking. So we also need to put an arrow from falling back to walking, which creates this double arrow with two transitions. Right now, this doesn't yet do anything, because we need to put actual animations into these states. So if we go to our idle/walking, we can double click that and open it up. And once again, we can put in a idle animation here, but we have a similar problem because I called this state idle/walking, but I only can hook up one animation output at a time. There we actually have something very neat. So if we press Ctrl and space again, and we right click, making a new asset, we can go into animation and we can make a blend space. We need to choose which skeleton we're going to go with. We're going to go with just a player skeleton, and we'll call this one walking idle. Doesn't really matter what you call it. Let's open it up, and we see an entirely new interface yet again. Here we have two axes, one going from 0 to 100 in the up direction, and one going from 0 to 100 in the left to right direction. And we can simply drag in animations onto this grid. We're going to only use the left and right dimension here. You can make blend spaces that make use of two inputs to blend together a lot of different animations in very, very cool ways. It's a little beyond what we're doing here right now today. So we've got our idle animation, which we have put at we're going to use the horizontal plane here, at a value of 0. So when we're not moving, we're going to be at idle. Then we can put in our walking cycle. And when you hold Control, this little green cursor will follow where you actually put your cursor. And that will be the value that we're previewing. So you can see this is our normal walking animation. And then we also, somewhere in here, have a running animation, which we can put even further along. And now you'll be able to see that we can smoothly interpolate from idle to walking to eventually full-on running. There's a little bit of an issue there. Let's open up the running animation, because this thing is animating way too fast, so we can set the rate scale to something like 0.4, and that's a lot better already. Now let's go back to our walking idle, and now we just need to experiment with what values we actually need here. And that entirely depends on how fast your character is moving and how fast the animations themselves are. So I can't give you values that are going to work in every case, but for the time being, let's say that we're walking up to 50, and then from 50 to 100 we blend to running. That seems pretty good for the time being. So instead of just putting in this idle animation here, what we can do is we can delete that, and we've got this new orange asset in here now. And that's our blend space. So we can pull in that blend space, and now we can see we've got two values that we can input, and that's going to influence what the actual output animation looks like. But they're called none and none, which is not very descriptive. So let's go back to our idle animation, and we can actually see here in the axis settings, if we go into the horizontal axis, we can give it a name. So let's call this velocity. And now we can see that this horizontal axis is called velocity. And going back here, the top pin is now called velocity. So we're going to have to input our character's velocity into this top slot. The way we do that is we make it into a variable. So we can right click this thing and just say promote to variable. It automatically makes a float variable down here in the bottom left corner of the proper type. And we can use some simple blueprint code to set the value of this velocity, which we can do if we come up here into the event graph. If you've done any blueprint coding before, this should be very familiar. And if you haven't done that, you probably should get familiar with that before diving into animation related stuff. So what we have here is a event blueprint update animation, which would be the same thing in a normal blueprint as the event tick. This is just going to run continuously while you play the game. And we have a try get pawn owner, and this is just going to return the pawn, in our case that's a character, that this animation blueprint has been put on. And we can just simply cast that to third person character blueprint, which is the one we'll be using. And from there we can get the character movement, and that one has a get velocity. There we go, the yellow one, all the way at the bottom. But we're running into a bit of an issue here, right? Because our velocity is a vector 3, which means that it's got 3 values. It's a yellow pin. And we're going to try and set that into a float, which is a green value. And that doesn't really match up. So let's drag this in. Holding Alt will get us a node that allows us to set the value of a variable. And we're going to connect it up to the cast to blueprint character. And luckily, there's a function pre-existing in Unreal Engine that will get the magnitude or the length of a vector. So if you pull off any vector, you can just say length, and then you get a vector length. And all that this does is just adding up the 3 individual numbers of the velocity. And that then can go into our set velocity. So now our animation will be based on our velocity, and the only thing we need to do is fine-tune the actual blending points of which values would be walking and which values would be running. Going back to our state machine by clicking just on this new state machine up here. Now we need to worry about the jumping and the falling mechanics. And here we get into making transitions. So if you click on these little round icons, double clicking will get you into the transition. And you can put in some simple code here to decide whether or not things should be going into a transition. More often than not, what you end up doing is you end up making a new variable down here. So let's just call this variable is falling. And going back into the event graph, we can actually get out of our character movement a is falling variable as it is. That's just a function that exists on the character movement. And we can simply set our newly made bool to be equal to whatever that character movement tells us whether or not it's falling. So now we have a variable in our animation blueprint which can show us whether or not we are falling. If we are falling, so we can drag this new made boolean in, holding Control gets you a reference to it rather than setting it, and we can just simply hook that up into there. So that means when we are in the idle and walking state, and our is falling variable is getting set to true, we're going to transition into our falling state. So let's add the animation to that now. We have a falling loop, which actually I don't think I want this one to loop. So we're going to keep loop animation off for this. But now we only ever have a transition from idle walking into falling, and we'll never transition back. So we need to set up the other transition too. So let's double click that, get a reference to our is falling variable, and we want transition back when is falling is no longer true. So we can drag off the is falling and just type not boolean, and that just gets us the inverted value. So when this is true, this makes it false, which means that we're not going to be transitioning. So as long as we're falling, we won't transition. The moment this becomes false, this turns it into a true, and then we will transition. Now, back in our blueprint third person character, we can set our anim class to being whatever that was called. It's player skeleton anim blueprint. That's quite a mouthful. So what we can also do is we can just select it and press this button over here, use selected asset from content browser, and that will then just import that into this field. So if we go and play the game now, we can see when we start moving, we animate, and when we stop moving, we're idle. And when we go up here and we fall down, we go into our falling animation. We don't yet have a jumping animation, but since when we jump, also trigger the is falling to be set to true, we still have a bit of a jump, but there's no lead in to the jump itself. So that's the last thing that we're going to be doing today, is creating a simple jump. And for that, we're going to need to go back to our blueprint character itself to add in a tiny little bit of extra code. So back in here, if we go into the event graph, we can see our input settings have all been set up by the template project, which is amazing. And we also have this jump input. We're going to keep things relatively simple for now. So let's just make a new variable here and just call this jumping. And we're going to set that to true again. Dragging it while holding Alt will get us a setting node. And we'll just simply set this to true when we jump. And we will set this to false when we stop jumping. And it really is as simple as that. Now that we have this variable existing in this blueprint, we can go back to our animation graph here, and we can make a jumping variable in here as well, which we will be able to set in much the same way that we did before. So get that in there. And then pulling off our cast to BP third person character, we can just get jumping. And that's the variable we just made. So we can pull off of that, move it around a little bit, and hook that up into our set jumping node. In our state machine, we simply create this transition over here, and we use the jumping variable. The state itself, of course, needs an animation in it as well. We have a jumping animation, so let's hook that up. Now, here we get into a bit of an interesting situation, because now when we jump, we can see that, okay, jumping is true, but falling will also at the same time being set to true because we're no longer grounded. So which one of these will it take? That's where the priority order comes in. When multiple transitions are possible at the same time, it's going to look at the priority order, and both of those are set to 1 at the moment. If I set this to 2 instead, it will now look at both of these priority orders and pick the one with the smallest value, so that being 1. There's only one last transition that we need to do, and that's going from jumping into falling. And this is mostly the reason I wanted to include a jumping in this tutorial, because this is a very important thing to also note. And that is, we don't always need to put in any sort of simple code in these transitions, because when you just click on them, we get a whole lot of things over on the right hand side here. I'm not going to explain most of them, but what we can do is we can set a automatic rule based on sequence player in state. And that sounds very complicated, but more or less what that does is it just looks at this state, the animation that's playing, and says, okay, so when this animation is finished playing, we're going to move on to this animation. And now we'll be able to see that when we jump, we actually have a different animation play before our falling loop. And when we fall off this thing, we just straight away go into our falling loop. It's a very subtle difference, but it gives the character a little bit more springiness to them when he jumps. And the animations themselves are kind of stiff and not amazing, I know, but they're practice animations, right? So don't you worry too much about them actually looking great. It's very important to understand the basics of this animation blueprint stuff as well as normal blueprint coding, because it's going to come back in a lot of tutorials you're going to watch in the future, most likely. So I hope this has been clear. Again, if it hasn't been clear and you want to check out the project files for whatever reason, there's a link down below in the description to my Patreon where you can get the project files. Or if you just want to support the channel, that's also much appreciated. And a very big thank you to all of my Patreons. You can see them on screen right now. If you want to help out supporting the channel, there's a link down below in the description to the Patreon page.